away, legs away. Okay. You comfortable? Mm-hmm. One of the first things a practitioner is going to be looking for in their first session is the superficial fascia, the covering of fascia, which is a form of connective tissue that covers the entire body like a wetsuit or a body stocking. There are certain areas where it predictably gets stuck to the layers below it and kind of thickened and dense and hardened. And in this first session, we have a list of goals that we're looking at accomplishing. Working around the hips and around the this area that includes the top of the hip bone and the glutes, and as the femur, the thigh bone comes up and joins into the hip bones, is in an area that we're really looking to begin to free up in this first session. So it's great to get information from our clients. We're inviting our clients to tell us what their experience is through the session. The approach that we have with our hands in this process is fairly firm. The idea is that we're wanting to accomplish as much as we can within the time frame of a session, and so we use as much intensity as is tolerable by the client. The idea is that there's some areas that are still fairly fixed and tight, and so we're working with intensity. The work is very slow. At times it can be deep, and we're working in a way so that we're freeing up and getting unstuck or unglued, if you will, the fascial strain, the fascial bindings that begin to wrap around a body. And it's very important that to us that we've explained to our clients that even though this may be intense at times, it's certainly not intended to be torturous.
I feel lighter on my left side than before. It was a lot heavier. Feels like a big change.
Eduardo is asking her to breathe, and as she breathes, to let that breath flow all the way down from her diaphragm, through her abdomen, and even into her hips there, so she can just use her mind's eye to see her breath filling up down where Eduardo's hands are touching. Rachel also just explained that some of the sensations she's feeling range from tenderness and some sensitivity, some pain, which is basically just the feeling of some pressure being put on the areas of tension. And she also said that some of it actually tickled a little bit when we were working in an area that's also very tight. So the sensations are varied, and getting feedback from our client is very important to us, as that can be helpful information to assess the state not only of the client but also the process of transformation that they're going through. As Eduardo is working, his hands are feeling the way through her connective tissue that wraps around her muscles, and the structural integration practitioner can feel the areas that are stuck and tight. The integration practitioner can also feel when things begin to change. He's asked Rachel to continue to focus on breathing into the areas where he's touching with his hands and putting pressure. Rachel has said she can feel tension underneath where Eduardo's working, and Eduardo can sense the change and the ease and the freedom that's happening as the layers of fascia, connective tissue, begin to get unglued from each other, and he can also begin to feel the lengthening and the opening of the way that the tissue relates to the surrounding tissues. Structural integration, as you were probably noticing here, as Eduardo is asking her to breathe and to do some very small kind of micro movements, is a fairly interactive work. People come in for their first session, and I think most people are surprised that it's not like a massage where you just lie there and zone out and receive the work and think about something else. It's very interactive, and we really increase the productivity of these sessions by engaging our clients and asking them to move and breathe, and asking them how they feel, what a certain area feels like. It's important information for us as we notice things are changing under our fingers, to hear the experience from our clients. But it's also important for the clients to know that we're working with them as a person. We're not just simply working on their body, but Dr. Rolfe talked early in her teachings, early on from the beginning of when she began to bring this work out and teach it to the public, to create structural integration practitioners. It was important for her, for the early students, and students still to this day, to know that what we're doing is working with the whole person. She called her work personal structural integration. The effect that working with the body has ripples out into a person's life. It's not just about making the body unstuck and releasing areas. It's about changing movement. As Eduardo is working with the different aspects of her shoulder girdle, working with the front of her shoulder here and the fascia that relates to the pectoralis and the deltoid, he's working with fascia that relates into her rib cage and up into her collarbone and her shoulder blade and the humerus of her arm. He's asking her to breathe into the specific areas that he's intending to reach into with his touch. He's asking Rachel to breathe and move and bringing her awareness to certain areas. And this interactive style of working really increases the productivity of our work. In structural integration sessions, there's typically work done at the end of the session on the back and the neck. A lot of this work is done with the client in a seated position. So we have the person's body relating to gravity. We have the muscles firing with them sitting up. Sometimes they'll be sitting in this position with their knees up and hugging their legs. We'll also work with the client sitting on a bench with their feet flat on the floor. There's different positions we'll put a client's body in, as we can ask for them to participate differently, pressing down with their feet and reaching back into their spine. And then we also carry different intentions of the manipulation of our work in the back as it varies from session to session as well. In this first session, again, we're working to open up the superficial fascia, the wrapper or the package of connective tissue that covers not only the back part of the rib cage, but also the low back and down into the hips and out into the shoulders as well.
I feel more at ease. I can breathe. I had a hard time breathing before. I'm a little lightheaded, so I'm kind of still not learning, but feeling what just happened to me. But it's a good feeling.